Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
There's one candidate for accepting Harinam, and 2 for Mantra Diksha, Gayatri Mantra. Harinam is to be chanted without offences. Chanting with offences, the result is Bahu Janma Kalajadi Shravam Kirtan Tabuta Napai Krishna Pade Prendam. If one chants the holy name with offences, then one may chant for many lifetimes and still not attain love of Krishna. On the other hand, Dharmadhe Sarva Shreshta Nama Sankirtan Niraparadhe Nam Laile Pai Prema Dhan Bhajane Modhe Shreshta Navavida Bhakti Krishna Prem Krishna Dite Hare Mahashakti. Among all the processes of bhajan or service to Krishna, best are the 9: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Advanam. Because all of them are very powerful to give Krishna Prem and to give Krishna. Among them, Dharmadhe, Sarva Shreshta, among them best of all is Nama Sankirtan, chanting the holy names. Because if one chants Niraparadhe, without offences, if one takes the holy name, Nam Lale Pai Premdam, then one will certainly attain love of Krishna. So the holy name is to be chanted without offences. What are those offences? You should know. And if you don't know, you might need to commit them. So Prabhupada would, before giving Harinam, he would usually have one of his disciples speak of the 10 offences against the holy name, what they are, so we can know and avoid them. So, the first offence is to blaspheme devotees. Prabhupada specifically stated this as to blaspheme devotees who dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name all over the world. Krishna, we're all over it. We all have our parts of the world. Hari Bhakti Desh. So Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita that one who is preaching this message of Bhagavad Gita, no one is more dear to Krishna than he. So even it's not stated that one should, it's given sadhu name. It's not said Krishna name. Of course that's also nothing to blaspheme Krishna. But specifically said it's sadhu name. Of course Krishna is also sadhu. That he is the object of worship for sadhus. Sadhus are Krishna's heart, as he himself states that sadhunam hridayam mahim sadhunam hridayam taham aranyaktena jananti mahim. That sadhus are my heart, they are in my heart, they are my heart, and I am the heart of the sadhus because they don't know anything else but me and I don't know anything else but them. So this has been described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an offence comparable to a mad elephant. But if one very carefully cultivates a garden, but then somehow a maddened elephant enters, in their rage, they will just simply scatter and destroy all the hard work. So one should avoid sadhu ninda. blasphemy. Actually, this word ninda, that means blasphemy. It also means criticism. There's no dividing line, as in English. Criticism in terms of blasphemy in English is a very strong term. I don't know. Now you have to go to Slovene. You have such a term? Slovene. It's usually used in relationship to scriptures, God, holy persons. These very strong, envious, unreasonable, without any basis, to simply have bad feelings towards others. So this is a point we have to very carefully understand. On the one hand, it is the duty of the devotee, especially those who are taking care or guiding others. It is the duty to point out discrepancies in others, but at the same time, one should not enviously, out of ill motive, try to mar the reputation of others, to make up stories, or to see bad where there is good. Another example that's given is of pointing out that the moon has got spots. Generally in poetry all over the world, the poets, they praise the beauty of the moon. And in Sanskrit also they say Krishna Chandra. Krishna is compared to a moon because he is so beautiful. But if someone points out, look at that moon, it's got spots. Actually the spots they give added beauty. But if one criticizes that it's not very beautiful because it has spots, this is unreasonable, unwarranted, unnecessary. Simply trying to find some fault where there is none. So one should avoid this. Otherwise, our chanting will not have effect. The second offense is to consider demigods like Shiva and Brahma to be equal to Lord Vishnu, or to consider that chanting the names of demigods is equal to, and extension of this is to consider that chanting the names of demigods like Shiva and Brahma is equal to chanting the names of Krishna. Of course, we don't see so much of this in this country because there's no culture of worshipping demigods. But the point is to be understood that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, supreme absolute truth. Actually, I've seen sometimes Westerners, they also worship demigods. Even Western devotees, they worship. Considering them independent God. So this idea was very much promoted by Sripad Shankaracharya, Panchopasana, worship of 5 gods, worship of Surya, Ganesh, Shiva, Durga and Vishnu. And then the modern idea, you can worship any number of things. You can even make up a few if you want. If you're not content with the present number, you make up some more. Why not? More the merrier. But the way our Vaishnavacharyas have taught us, on the basis of Shastra, is that Satyam Param Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, supreme absolute truth, is Vasudeva, Krishna. Tatah Parakaram Nanya, Krishna said. Above me, there is nothing. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. From me, everything comes. So Krishna is supreme. This has to be understood very clearly. Otherwise one may chant, but all these offences, they render our chanting as not chanting. Because chanting Hare Krishna means to pray to Krishna, O energy of Krishna, please engage me in your service. But if we offend sadhus, that means we're not actually wanting to serve Krishna, we're wanting to offend Krishna. Or if we consider that Krishna is not supreme, then we may be praying, please engage me in your service, but just wait a minute, I'm not going to serve you now, I'm running off to serve Ganesh. Or I'm serving you, but I'm expecting something back from you, and if you don't give it, well, there's plenty of other gods, I can try them. Sometimes we hear that. In India, sometimes people say, well, I tried worshipping Vishnu for some time, but I didn't get what I wanted, so I went to Sai Baba, and then it worked. So Sai Baba's better than Krishna. They think. They're fools. But they don't understand, they don't accept their position as constitutional positions as servants of Krishna. And even the demigods are servants of Krishna. Yes, tu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudraditai Vatai Samatvainaiva Diksheta Sapashandi Bhagavatam. One who thinks that even great demigods like Brahma and Shiva are on an equal level to Lord Vishnu, they are considered Pashandi, atheists. Sometimes we see that people are chanting the names of Kirtan, chanting Hare Krishna mantra, chanting all enthusiastically. They just switch over to some, without changing the beat or anything, they switch over to some song about Kali, Jai Kali Ma, as if it's all the same. But that chanting will not bring us to Krishna. That's why all these offences, they're all philosophical, they're based on philosophical misconceptions. That's why Shravan and Kirtan have to go together. There is no actual Kirtan without Shravan. The initiation beginning, you may say, well, you can just chant Hare Krishna, what do you need initiation for? You need to hear. You need to hear in Parampara. Who is Krishna? Why are we chanting his names? Otherwise our chanting won't be actual chanting. First comes Shravan, then Kirtan. Actual Kirtan has to be preceded by Shravan. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave the analogy that just as Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, but he himself feels himself not complete without Radha. She is his Swarup Shakti. Swarup Shakti means she gives him his identity. Radha Krishna. So in the same way, Shravan is the Swarup Shakti of Kirtan. Without hearing, one's Kirtan cannot be perfect and complete. Yeah, so the third offense is to, each of these could be discussed. Anyway, the third offense is to neglect the Guru's instruction, to disobey, or to consider him an ordinary person. In other words, the Guru has to be accepted as good as Krishna himself says. Acharyam bang vijaniyam bhavavaneshaka namartha buddha suyeta sarvadeva Guru. That the Acharya should be considered as me. Vijaniyam, one should fully know, fully accept, and never disrespect him in any way. Never consider him an ordinary person. Never be envious, because Sarvadeva Maya, he's the sum total of all the demigods. More. So as good as God, because he gives the message of God. Now sometimes we say that, well, that's for the big acharyas, all this. But actually Krishna was instructing this verse, giving the duties of a brahmachari. And most brahmacharis, they will go to the guru in the forest. They may have 5-6 disciples. So it's not that we say the principle of guru is one. Of course some are great world acharyas, some may be teaching one or two, but to teach any disciple anything from Shastra puts the disciple eternally in debt. That cannot be repaid. So one should always see the Guru as representative of the Supreme Lord, because Prabhaya Priya Eva Tasya, he is most dear to Krishna because he is delivering the message of Krishna. Not that he is in all respects God, but because he is the representative of Krishna, therefore his instruction is to be followed. And even though it may be seen that it is seen that, like an ordinary person, he eats, sleeps, becomes sick, and all this kind of thing, but that should not be considered that this is going on under the direction of the three modes of material nature. One should consider, because he is speaking the message of Krishna, his life is dedicated to Krishna, that Mahatmanas Tumam Parta, Daiving Bhakti is under the spiritual energy, should not be considered a mundane person. Then Shruti Shastra Nindana, to blaspheme the Shruti, the Vedic literature, all the Vedic literatures, to blaspheme, to disbelieve, disobey. This initiation means into parampara, amnai parampara, based on Vedic knowledge. Guru's position also is not independent. He's not considered as good as God, but he's not independent as Krishna is. He has to teach according to Shastra. That is his qualification. If he doesn't teach according to Shastra, then not good. So the center is Shastra. Shastra means how the method by which Krishna gives us knowledge of him, by which we can come to him. So Guru embodies that, or personifies that knowledge. And that knowledge which comes from Shastra, that is always to be respected. Even if we don't understand something, or we may think it fantastic, as we read descriptions in Bhagavatam, how for instance, how the eclipse of the sun or moon is caused by Rahu. The head of a demon swallows the sun or the moon. That is the description. And then it comes out through his neck, and then you can see the sun and moon again. So we may think this is just some fairy story, we may think. But to think like that, to disrespect, that is disrespect of Shastra. We may not understand how this is true, but we should not think that Vyasadeva was mistaken. If we think like that, we're in a lot of trouble. Because Shastra is coming from Krishna. It is a Paurushaya. It is not coming from any mundane source. Actually, Shastra is eternal. That's the meaning of our Paurushaya. It doesn't originate in any person. Although, coming from Krishna, he also says, Vede Narayanam Sakshat. Vedas, they come from Narayana. At the same time, they're eternally under his direction. They only point to him. So, if we don't understand it, we should understand that our understanding is incomplete, not that Vyasadeva's understanding is incomplete. There's a very important point in the modern age, and especially in modern times of ISKCON, where there's a lot of attempts to rationalize or even reject the Shastra, because the Shastra is not in line with modern ideas of knowledge, or rather we should see that modern knowledge so-called knowledge is not the criterion. The modern knowledge is not in line with Shastra, therefore we reject that. Why should we reject Vyasadeva? Because the persons of frog-like vision, they can't understand what he's saying. Rather we should bow down to the lotus feet of Vyasadeva and forget the frogs. Let them be frogs. We shall bow down to the lotus feet of Vyasadeva. Then, to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. In Shastra it's stated that simply by chanting the name of Krishna, one can get free from birth and death, and moreover, one can attain love of Krishna. So one may think, well, how is this possible? Because liberation is not easily achieved, even in many lifetimes of performing austerities and studying Shastra. But simply by chanting the holy names, and even Haridav Thakur, the Nama Acharya, he has explained how even getting liberation from material bondage, which is such a the highest goal of the Gyanis, who consider themselves at the summit of Vedic knowledge. It's very difficult for them to attain mukti, but the Vaishnavas, quoting Shastra, say that mukti, which is so much desired and sought out after many lifetimes, is very easily attained by chanting the holy names, and it's not even the main goal, it's only a secondary result of chanting the holy names. The actual result is attaining love of Krishna. So one will think, well, that's just an exaggeration, because that's just to get people to do it. But chanting the holy names is very good, makes you pious. This is their reason. So the Shastra gives such glorification just to induce people to chant, because if they do so, they'll become pious and get free from sin. If one thinks like that, that's also an offense, because these are the glories of the holy name. It's not exaggeration. Similarly, to put some mundane interpretation on the holy name, and that's similar to Harinam Nikalpanam, Tathātavāda. That's similar to put some mundane interpretation. Just like there was one Swami who's dead now. He's dead as dead. At least his body's dead. He gave some very intelligent, badly intelligent interpretation that Krishna means black. That's true. Krishna does mean black. Black means unknown. That's also true, because darkness is equated with ignorance. So unknown means black, or ignorance means tamas. It's also true. Tama is another word for darkness. So Krishna is unknown, so there's no use to try and know him, and he's in tamas, he's in darkness, tamagu. So this is malinterpretation, or wrong, bad interpretation. To misinterpret and malinterpret. Krishna is Shama Sundar, black, yes, but not the black of this material world. The black, young Shama Sundaram, Achintya Guna Swarupa, black and very beautiful, and not mundane black, but Achintya Guna Swarupa, possessed of, his form is composed of inconceivable transcendental qualities. So one should not exercise one's intelligence to try to jump over the teachings of the Acharyas. Then, seventh offense is to commit sins on the strength of chanting the holy name. Because in Shastra it's stated that simply by chanting the names of Vishnu, one gets free from the results of simple reactions. So, at least previously, it was a practice among pretty much all castes, especially in South India, to chant Vishnu Sahasranam daily. Why? With the idea of get free from sin. We're committing sins every day, so we'll chant this every day, and then we'll start each day fresh and new. Like take a bath to get physically fresh and free from dirt. Then you chant Vishnu Sahasranam, then you're ready for another day. Of course, they're mostly pious people. They didn't commit grossly sinful activities like we were accustomed to. But the mentality of chanting Vishnu Sahasranam in that way is such that one will never get the actual result of attaining love of God. Because the very mentality that we'll just take God is our... we pass stool and his job is to come and clean it up. We commit sins and he shall clean it away. This kind of mentality. The very mentality is sinful. So sinful that one who has this mentality cannot be purified even by Yamaraj. One day one will be punished by Yamaraj. Purification will not come about. It's such a sinful mentality. That the holy name of Krishna meant for developing love for Krishna should be chanted just so that we can go on sinning. Rather one should chant Hare Krishna to become sinless. But rather they'll take it as an excuse to go on being sinful. So that's very simple. The eighth offense is to equate the chanting of the holy names with mundane pious activities recommended in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, such as going on pilgrimage, offering sacrifices, giving charity, digging wells, and all these things. So Vaishnavas may also do this, just like we're about to have a fire sacrifice here. But these activities are conducted within the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas for again getting free from sins, for attaining punya or pious results, so that people can enjoy life in a pious way in this life and in future lives. But chanting Hare Krishna is not meant for such mundane results, and gives far more than such mundane results. It frees one from the mundane mentality by which one should even desire such things. So if one thinks that chanting Hare Krishna is something like going on pilgrimage to get free from sin, to think it's that one can perform all these other activities and they're alternatives to chanting Hare Krishna. They all give a similar mundane pious result. If one thinks so, then one can never get the actual transcendental result, which is attaining love of Krishna. To preach the glories of the holy name to faithless people is also offensive. Anyone may be asked to chant Hare Krishna, but to explain the glories that one will attain love of Krishna, then the persons who have no interest in love of Krishna, who are inimical to this prospect, if they hear this, they'll become more angry. They'll become more offensive. So we become offensive by preaching the glories of the holy name to people without even any beginning of faith in Krishna and Krishna consciousness. The 10th offense is that even after hearing so much instruction on the transcendental nature of Krishna and of the soul, his servant, to deliberately maintain a bodily concept of life, to cultivate. This practically means we have the term anya abhilash, other desires. Uttama bhakti, or topmost bhakti, is characterized by freedom from desires other than attaining pure devotion to Krishna. So if we deliberately cultivate other desires, this includes everything else. If we cultivate desires to be a successful person of this material world so that others will praise us, if we cultivate desires to have healthy bodies so that we can enjoy life, if we cultivate, there's so many things, supporting some sports team, or there's so many mundane things which we may have attachments to. These attachments have to be given up. Otherwise, our chanting of the holy name will not give love of Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has also warned that at the root of all these offences is inattentive chanting. If we don't chant attentively, then it will be difficult to that's also offensive, and it will not be possible to overcome all the other offences. So you actually have to pray to Krishna. Hare Krishna, please engage me in your service. And the actual result of chanting will be seen in how we serve. We should go on enthusiastically serving. Then it can be understood that we're actually chanting. So there's this chanting of the holy name. It's a function of the pure soul. It's not a function of the body or the mind or the mundane intelligence. So, and it transcends, or it's above all Vedic rituals. Therefore, it's stated that Diksha Purascharya Adi Upekra na kare Jiva Sparshe Achandale Tare Tare. That chanting the holy name, there's no need to take initiation. Diksha Purascharya Vidhi. There's no need for any separate purificatory activities, because as soon as the holy name is manifested on the tongue, even of the lowest class of person who's sinful person, they become delivered. So this is stated in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So then maybe I was saying, why do you have initiation into the holy name? That was discussing that a little bit, because we also have to hear and follow and be trained in chanting. Chanting is very easy, at least for persons who are somewhat wise. People who are very simple, they cannot chant the holy name of Krishna. Have you experienced that? You see, sometimes you're in Harinam and you ask people to chant. Some people, they cannot chant. They are so much averse. Or we go chanting in the street and some people block their ears and run away as if we're spraying poison or something. But anyway, it's too late, they already heard. They don't like it, they already got it in their ear. So, pious people can chant, they can enunciate, they can pronounce the names. But actual chanting means Nayanam Zavada Shuddharaya Vadanam Gaddara Vidhya Gina Pulokaya Vichitam Vapukata Tapanama Grahane Bhavish. Nama Grahan, actually taking the name, accepting the name, means that we should be fully overwhelmed with love of Krishna. But we're not. Why not? Because we're not Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahish. There's an order. These Shikshashikam, there's verses 1 to 8. It's not that first we chant number 8 and then we'll think about being on the level of Radharani, and then we'll think about being humbler than a straw of rice. That will come later. Not like that. There's an order. So, training is required to understand what we are doing, why we are doing, how to do it in a manner that will be pleasing to Krishna. Therefore, this Diksha, Vidhi, is required, that one places oneself under the training of Guru. Guru means one who dispels the darkness of ignorance. So, the important factors in approaching a Guru are humility and submissiveness, desirousness to understand what the subject matter that is to be discussed, the absolute truth, and service attitude, which comes with humility. Two things are connected. The submissiveness and humility, simply to show submissiveness but not to want to do any service, and that is not actual humility. Then Upadekshyanti, one should approach Tattvadarshi, those who acknowledge of Tattva, that which is reality. One should accept by offering obeisances, making relevant inquiries, by offering service, and one should accept initiation. Upadekshyanti means they initiate into this knowledge. One actually has to be initiated to receive this knowledge. It's Vedic now. First, the system is first one takes initiation, then one receives knowledge. Diksha means it's divyam jnanam vitodadya purva papasya sankshayam tata dikshayati te prokta teshikais chapta kodidai. Those who have knowledge of this process, they say that Diksha means divya jnana, the transmitting of transcendental knowledge. And purva papasya sankshan, kshayam, ksha, diksha. Ksha means destruction. So sankshan, complete destruction of previously performed sinful activities. So, those who have committed sinful activities previously, they may be purified by the Pancharatriki system. The Vedic system of initiation, which is not applicable in this age, is for very pious people with very pious lives. But in the Pancharatriki system, one simply has to be agreed to be sinless. Then he can be accepted for initiation. And by this process, all sinful activities or the results are removed, and one becomes eligible to acquire transcendental knowledge and act in the service of the Lord. For this purpose, one has to accept Guru. It's all vast subject. So and anyway, I'm summarizing, which I hope you already have heard many times. Then we have to speak also about this Brahminical initiation. We talk of first initiation, second initiation. In technical terms, Diksha is only once. Although formal acceptance of Harinam is often followed in our society by giving this what we call Brahminical initiation. That's actually, in technical terms, that is Diksha, Mantra Diksha. Also, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is is all mantras. Vedic or Pancharatric Vedic mantra, Brahma Gayatri is given, and Pancharatric mantras are given at the time of Brahminical initiation, which was introduced on a wide scale by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, with a specific purpose of demonstrating that Vaishnavas are Brahmanas. Actually, Brahmana, one is initiated as a Brahmana but is not a Vaishnava, he's not a real Brahmana. Or being a Brahmana is maybe considered conventional, but he's still to become a full Brahmana, a Vaishnava, because Brahmana means Brahma Janatiti Brahmana, Janmana Jayate Shudra. By birth, even if one is born in a Brahmana family, one's nature, you see a little child, like Shudra. Shudra means no knowledge, no discrimination. Then, samskara bhavedvija. By undergoing upanayanam samskara, then one is known as a dvija, or twice born, becomes eligible to study the Vedas. Then after studying the Vedas, Veda Pathak Bhavat Vipra. And after studying the Vedas, being trained in studying the Vedas, one is known as a Vipra, or a learned person. But actual Brahma means Brahma Janati. When one realizes the absolute truth, then he is known as a Brahmana. So real Brahmana means a Vaishnava, because ultimately to understand the absolute truth means to accept Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Absolute Truth. But conventional Brahmanas, they don't understand or accept this. So, although it's allowed for in scripture, and although it had been going on even before the time of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the Gauriya Sampradaya, to offer Brahma Gayatri and other Pancharatric mantras and the Brahminical thread to persons not born in Brahminical families, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur did so on a very wide scale and aggressively establish that a real Brahmana is a Vaishnava, that the status of a Brahmana is less than not even that of a Vaishnava. So one should never deceive people from thinking that this is a Shudra, but he's also a Vaishnava, but he's less than a born Brahmana. To save people from such offense, and to propagate the superlative positions of Vaishnavas above any Varnashram status, actually, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur widely introduced this giving of the Brahmin thread or Ragyopavita and these mantras. Now it's not just for symbolism. The mantras that are to be chanted, they are esoteric mantras, therefore not to be spoken here and there. Mantra in general, mantra means is not for speaking here and there. It's to be received from Guru and recited not publicly. Mantras are not meant for public recitation. Only among certain mantras may be recited among qualified people only in the company. But these mantras are also they are meant for the worship of Krishna, and especially for invoking His presence. These mantras, they are non-different from the Lord, And by chanting them, they help us to become closer to Him and to realize His nature, to realize our nature as His servant. So, particularly for deity worship, it is required, because deity worship, mantras are required. One worships the deity by offering different items. But everything is to be offered with mantra, which is symbolic representation of the Lord. So this is a very deep science to understand all these points. What is sound? Even these mantras are to be chanted silently, but they are sound manifested within the mind. It's a very, very deep science of chanting mantras, but from our perspective, we take them as mantras suitable for worshipping the Lord, and specifically one who has received these mantras becomes eligible to worship deities. So accepting this initiation means that one should specifically cultivate the qualities of a Brahmana, which automatically accrue to one who is a Vaishnava, that should be especially prominent in those who have accepted Brahminical initiation. Those qualities are summarized by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. What are the qualities of a Brahmana? Who can say that verse? Shamo, Tama, Tapa, Shocham, Shantir, then Jnanam, Vijnanam Astikam, Brahma Svidharvajam. Say all these things. Bhavananda Kanasavan. At least in your own language you can learn. It's important to know. So the qualities which characterize the work of the activities, the very life of a Brahmana, are peacefulness, self-control, austerity, cleanliness, tolerance. We've all been exhibiting much tolerance in this camp. Tolerance, that means tolerance of dualities, of which heat and cold is usually given you as an example. So you've been tolerating the cold. I ran away to look around. So, Shanti Arjava, this is very important. Arjava means straightforward behavior. No politics and diplomacy. Straightforward, simple, means not scheming making schemes how to promote ourselves and push others down, make ourselves look very good and make others look bad. Very straightforward behavior. That also entails speaking straightforwardly. Direct. Yes. Jnana. Brahmana should be knowledgeable. Jnana doesn't mean knowledge of university knowledge. It means specifically, Jnana means knowledge of Shastra. And Vijnana knows how to practically apply that. Means able to, in his own life, and to give advice to others also. Give advice to others means that how to apply the knowledge of Vedic knowledge in practical life for people's benefit. So these are the qualities of a Brahmana. Please bear them in mind and live by them. Hare Krishna. So now the one candidate for accepting Harinam, present here, Bhakti Boyam, offer his obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, the deities, to the representative of Srila Prabhupada who will give him beads and name. Yeah, we have garlands, I've seen, they're not there. I had one, but it broke.
It's from the forest farm.
Yeah, I can see, very nice. There's one from the garden. This is one. In Zagreb once I came there, but for some reason or other they didn't have any flowers, there was some holiday going on. And so they just went outside and got some flowers like this. And they were thinking that I'd be upset or something, because I have a reputation for being a nasty fellow. So I said, oh, this is very nice. This is better than the one bought from the market. If you go and find it from the forest, the flower, Krishna likes them, Banamali, decorated with forest flowers. Gola Deshe Banamala, we sing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, decorated with forest flowers. So very nice. Alright. Yeah, we need a little space. Can you all shift over a little bit? So, sit like this. Sit like this, it means the idea is that you're going to sit and stay and listen. If you sit like this means you might just jump up. Alright, so please tell what are the 4 simple activities that you are not performing and will not perform.
Many people go into special November and
How many malas minimum?
60.
Alright. Hare Krishna mantra, 16 malas every day. Initiation means Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atta Shamarpan, to offer one's life in the service of Krishna. That's the actual meaning, Vaishnava initiation. So you want to do that within the parampara. Understand that? And within the parampara, coming to Srila Prabhupada. This is your position in the family of Krishna. So your name today is the Balaram Purnima. So your name will be Baladev Vidya Bhushan Das. Powerful Acharya. Balaram means very powerful. So taking power from Balaram, the Radha Govinda, he defeated the challenges against our Sampradaya. Hare Krishna. Also, today, afterwards I'll be given Gayatri Mantra. Where's your threads? Have your threads there? Yeah, just put them there. Just leave them there. So afterwards they'll be given, told Gayatri Mantra.